DXY is going to be a very key factor. We've started off the week pretty bearish, as you can see, strong move to the downside. And I want to start with the weekly chart because that time frame there will dictate my bias for the next few weeks, potentially a few months as well, depending on the result of what happens with this level, because we've had such a bullish USD. We've come back into such a significant high at 107,200, 107,500. Last week, we just about got a close above. Nothing convincing, nothing that will give me confidence in that breakout. As I said in my weekly analysis, if you didn't check it out, make sure you go do so. I'm looking for a strong break above the high. That will be okay. Maybe the market is actually breaking out, and we can talk about potentially a push back to the highs up here. We don't have that yet. We could, by the end of this week, maybe prices trading above that. But what we do have is a very weak close with a bit of a wick to the upside. So indecisive. And this current weekly candle, all those are looking pretty bearish now, it could push a lot further, give us maybe a strong bearish engulfing candle by the end of the week. And by then, things are looking very bearish. And I would be expecting naturally a push to the downside, probably till the end of the year at least, because the market's still a bit stretched. It's going for a bit of a pullback. This is a ranging market. So if we are going to reject the high of the range, we potentially could see a push even to the low of the range, which will take us multiple weeks to the downside. So there is still a lot of downside potential, as with the upside potential. Just depends which way price wants to break. If it wants to break above and continue, great. We'll be looking at 113, 114. If price holds the level, we'll come straight back down. So I'm quite torn on a bias this week, very neutral, waiting for more information on the higher time frames. What I can say, though, on the lower time frames, there could be the start of maybe a big head and shoulder pattern. If this was the big fake out from last week, really strong move to the upside, all we did was come straight back down. If the market was to continue to sell off this week, maybe give us some type of correction later on, it could be some nice shorts to take advantage of that opportunity, like a lower high head, right shoulder. So you got your neckline here, left head, right shoulder, head, shoulder pattern. And of course, there could be some nice sells there in USD. And on the flip, buys on euro, buys on pound, likewise. So I can see the signs of potentially a reversal pattern, but I'm not going to judge that yet because the trend is still up, momentum's still up. We could easily form a higher low and take off. So that's why I'm pretty neutral this week on USD. Just waiting for a little bit more information before I do put forward a bias and start looking to trade those opportunities. But that's kind of what I'm expecting to see happen. But it's just definitely not there yet. So I have to stay patient. Going looking at EURUSD, of course, we've literally got the mirror image of this, probably just minus the gap in the opposite direction. So again, very powerful level of support. We just got a close below it with last week's candle. As we can see, nice candle close below. Nothing really confident, nothing really saying, okay, we're really breaking out of this level. You could easily see the next following week, this week's candle close right back inside that range. And then things look bullish again because we're rejecting support very well. There's a good chance we'll probably see some upside for the next few weeks. So it's the same situation with Euro, just the inverse of it on the DXY. So again, possibly could be seeing the signs of a inverse head and shoulder pattern this time. So if you can get a strong push to the upside, bit of a correction at some point, there could be some nice buys following that. So again, you got your left shoulder, your head, possible right shoulder, and we could be looking at continuation as well. But again, a lot needs to happen. That would be a neckline. Could be some nice opportunities above that as well. If you don't look to take the right shoulder, you can always look for the break and retest of the neckline. The situation with Euro USD and the dollar pairs is that the market's still very stretched. In FX, we don't tend to go in one direction for too long. We tend to have healthy pullbacks, which we just haven't really seen with the USD pairs. So if we are going to reject this level, there is a lot of upside for us to pull back into, possibly back into this area here for a retest. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a push all the way up there. So there's a lot of upside potential, but just need a little bit more development in that price action because we've been so bearish. So jumping into longs at the moment is always a little bit difficult. And potentially price still might want to go fill that gap there for Euro. Might want to fill that gap before pushing up. That's a possibility. Not really an opportunity which I look to take myself. I don't really look to fill gaps, trade gaps. Never really big enough for me to get involved with. Intraday I can understand, but my stop loss is probably that size there. So Nothing really I'm looking to take advantage of, but I do expect at some point that gap to be filled as well. Go over to pound USD. It's a similar situation as with euro. Although I don't really like the longs on pound, I actually like the shorts on pound. We've had a really big sell-off to the downside. Of course, I do want to see a retracement first. I'm not looking to sell from current price, but we had a pretty strong close below that trend line last week. So I'm getting the impression that pound USD does have a lot more downside in store. And I do think we can come back and test that price swing low. Really big move to the upside, breaking through the trend line there. Naturally going to come back and test the prior low, which will be this low here at 1.24. So I'm looking at corrections for pound. The area I was looking to trade from last week was this area, and still an area which I do like to short from. It's probably highly unlikely we would see a retest of that level at least this week. Price might see that retest, but I don't think we'll be up there in a week. Maybe a couple to get us back there, but I really like that level. Still really solid support. Broke through with no prior retest. A lot of momentum on the breakout as well, so it takes a lot of my boxes. It's just price is very, very far away from that. I did say on an intraday level, we do have some support here with similar characteristics. Nice level of support, broke through, great momentum. We did have a retest this morning. So yeah, nice retest there. Really strong bearish close there at is that 8 a.m.? Yeah, 8 a.m. Really strong bearish close there on the lower time frames, but it's just not a level I'll be interested in because the market's a bit too stretched for me. I want to see a bigger pullback there than this, what we're getting at the moment. Again, another gap there in pound USD. We could look to go and fill that gap possibly. So that could be a nice intraday trade to look at. But for myself, I need the bigger pullbacks. And that's where, you know, levels like this come in at 1.284 to 85. So I'm waiting for those bigger pullbacks there for pound to short it because I still think there's room to the downside. I don't know what happened there. I still think there's room to the downside for pound USD. So I'm looking to see if I can take advantage of that, but I need a bigger pullback. The market's way too bearish for me to short and get involved with. But that is still the plan with pound USD, a push into 1.235. As for Aussie dollar, this one I'm still expecting a bit more downside as well. I'm looking for a push into 0.64. This level of daily support there as well. Not too far away. It looks like we're still respecting that support level, which we identified as resistance last week. So the breaking test of this low. We've had a couple tests of this area. In fact, on the weekly analysis, I said this could be a nice place for a double top. We tested it once over here. I said we might see another push, which could be a great place for some entries. Stops above the high and looking for your continuations, you know, back into the low, or you got the daily low there. Depends on how aggressive you want to be with the trade. But again, nice reaction with that gap straight into that level. So pretty much early hours of the morning, price was already rejecting that level pretty well, and we see some downside. So yeah, for Aussie dollar, I do expect price to keep falling. Like I said, I'm looking for a push into 0.64. In terms of entries, you want to be focusing your entries at that area since that's where price is respecting pretty well. We had that double top, so that would have been a nice entry, but that boat was kind of sailed a little bit unless we come back and retest it. We might have a deeper correction. Some areas up here we may come and test. So if the market doesn't hold this area, we might push up a little bit higher before falling. So maybe keep an eye out for that later in the week. But at the moment, yeah, I'm only bearish, only looking for a bit more downside for Aussie. And then once we hit 0.64, we can probably speak about the buys because Aussie dollar is another one of those markets which has been falling for quite a while. Haven't seen much retracement besides this bullish move, and that was just before the US election. So once we get to 0.64, we might see a bigger bounce. But at the moment in time, still expecting a bit more downside. Heading over to its partner in crime, New Zealand dollar. This one looked bearish. Looks like it's breaking through this level of support here. It hasn't held-ish. It's not the most convincing break, but we are trading below it. But we do have this area just underneath, which is around 0.58, which I said this level doesn't hold, and we're expecting a bounce at that next area. We did see a minor bounce at that first level, but didn't really amount to much. So judging on how price is moving, still very corrective. I do think there's some upside in the tank there for New Zealand dollar, but it does look like we'll probably see that continuation back into the low at 0.58 first, and then we can speak about the buys later on. But yeah, this level is now acting as resistance, so we probably will see another down move, and again, another gap in the market, which price could probably look to go and fill, knock two birds with one stone out, fill the gap, test the level. Then we might see a bit of a relief because the USD pairs are still stretched. So I do expect a bit of a breather, even if they are still going to continue dropping. I'm looking at the higher time frames for some of these markets. We've got the COVID lows down here for New Zealand dollar. I wouldn't be too surprised if that's where prices actually go longer term, because we've had a pretty bearish market for quite a while. I wouldn't be surprised if we are coming back to these lows to go and take them out. I think that's probably what price is going to do, actually. So there might be a lot of downside left for NZD/USD, but I still think at least a correction at some point, maybe for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and then we might see the bigger move, but at least a bounce is pretty likely. And then we can go from there. Take a look at dollar CAD. Dollar CAD had some nice rejections of that level of support last week, but it looks like it's actually gapped below it last time I checked, but it looks like it's trying to get back above. So a really nice level of support. Last week held a few times. We actually gapped below that. And now price is kind of trading underneath it. It's a little bit stuck, but it has kind of filled the gap already there for dollar CAD already this morning. Probably going to see the other USD pairs go and do the same. I still do expect upside for dollar CAD. So despite us breaking through that level, the key thing is we haven't really broken through structure yet, which is the key thing I'll look at in terms of direction. If market's still respecting structure, then it's not going to change my bias. If we break a level of support resistance, that won't change my bias. It just means that we're not looking to buy from there anymore, unless price was to get back above it and start to use it as support again. But at that point, we've probably just got a lot of consolidation here. Equal highs, equal lows. For me, the next best play would be to wait for price to break above that. Actually, look that. Wait for price to break above the high of the range and get some opportunities above the high. So at that point, momentum is back on our sides, and we're probably going to smash into that high at that point. So that would be the next best opportunity. But yeah, I am still bullish on dollar CAD, looking for that high low. If price does see a big jump this week and we break structure, that's where things become very interesting. Because if I go back to the weekly chart, let's not forget we had that really strong close above this weekly resistance. So that is a key, very key sign that momentum is very strong with USD, and we've broken through such a significant level, which held us for quite a while. So if we are going to stay above this and continue, you're going to expect us to hold support and see some more upside. And if we close back below, that could be the start of a lot more downside, because what you have then is a massive fake out, and all of that liquidity will be used for a big drop to the downside. So either which way, there's a big move to be had with dollar CAD. At the moment, I'm still bullish, still above 1.3179, and if you can get back above that high, I think that's a nice buy opportunity. In terms of gold and silver, so yeah, gold, I'm pretty sure gold and silver both look pretty bearish. Big strong candle to the downside. I still do think gold is likely to keep pushing high. We actually took up the highs there from last week. So I did say this week could be seeing a nice retest of this low here for a higher low. Big inverse head and shoulder pattern. You got your left head and then your right shoulder there, looking for that higher low in the continuation. Or you can wait for your neckline to break, which would be this level here, and look for some opportunities on the back of that. Depends how aggressive you want to be. But either which way, both really nice opportunities. We're just looking for that next higher low. And also pointing out the weekly candle, really strong bullish engulfing last week there. We had a lot of momentum prior to that. And then last week, really strong push to the upside. So I do expect to see more upside, at least back to the high, and probably new all-time highs for gold pretty soon as well. So yeah, gold looking pretty bullish, and silver, I'm still holding that position. Not really the best start to the week, I must admit. Price looked very, very bearish this morning. Strong move to the downside. It's still above my entry, so I haven't been trailed out. My stop loss is still trade at my entry, so I'm giving the market maximum room to do its thing. I have secured some partials, so worst case scenario, still walk away with a small win if it does take me out for break even. But if you do see some upside and hopefully gold does keep pushing up, that should help silver push up as well. Kind of just being a bit of consolidation for silver, really. In fact, if you're looking for some opportunities to get involved with silver, another double bottom here could be a nice opportunity for a buy. It's more range play at this moment in time. It's not really a healthy trend going on. So I wouldn't be looking for anything crazy. That's kind of my focus with this trade, is that I'm not really looking for a continuation back to the high. I'm more looking just for a push back into the high there to take my profits. But overall, silver still bullish bias, gold still bullish bias. I'm expecting them both to push up. It's just we're having a little bit of a bump in the road, and I think gold's just pulling back really. So that wouldn't alarm me too much. But yeah, naturally expecting more upside. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with USD.